James Bell of the Boxing Source here with another video, and this one here is to talk about the rematch for the WBC Heavyweight Championship between Deontay Wilder and Wilder-Ortiz. This is scheduled to be on November 23rd, slated for the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. And of course, a couple of days ago, we got the news that it will be on Fox pay-per-view. That's right, Fox pay-per-view, who, has basically picked up a good number of fights over the course of this year, including the fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia and Manny Pacquiao against Keith Thurman. But what makes this one here pretty interesting is that the talk was that Deontay Wilder and Wilder-Ortiz would have been fighting on Showtime pay-per-view, but the president of sports and event programming on Showtime, Stephen Espinoza, said that picking up that particular fight would have required a financial commitment that he wasn't comfortable making there, and that he kind of like seen it as an investment that probably wouldn't have quite worked out for Showtime at this particular juncture. Going off what he was telling Boxing Scene yesterday, he stated that he had the opportunity to distribute the pay-per-view, but the deal didn't make sense for us. Obviously, he loved Deontay Wilder, and we believe Wilder-Ortiz will be an exciting fight. But we're not going to take disproportionate risk in order to secure it. That kind of, is a little bit of a shock to people, because for the past, almost 5 years, Deontay Wilder has basically been on Showtime for the majority of those fights. I think they're, with the exception of maybe one or two fights that Deontay Wilder has had while holding the WBC championship, that he, has been on Showtime. I think, you had the fight against Gerald Washington that was, not on Showtime, and you also had the fight that he had against Johan Duhaupas that was not on Showtime. But other fights that he's had, against Bermane Stiverne, against Archer Spilka, the Wilder-Ortiz fight, and you have that Dominic Brazil fight that was, on May 18th. This is also a factor that the Tyson Fury fight that they had on December 1st, 2018, produced 320 to 325,000 pay-per-view buys. And with that fight being supposedly one of the biggest fights that could be made in the heavyweight division, that kind of like reflected as to what would happen with Deontay Wilder and Showtime, is that they had put a lot into that particular pay-per-view between Wilder and Fury, and it only came off to having 320 or 325,000 pay-per-view buys. And then after that, you had Showtime picking up the fight between Deontay Wilder and Dominic Brazil, where Showtime paid a substantial license fee to air that fight. And if y'all remember, Deontay Wilder was going through a little bit of a back and forth leading into that time period before he was preparing to fight Dominic Brazil, where he could have had the deal to fight on a multi-fight deal under the zone, where they had two offers, one offer for $100 million for 3 fights, and one offer for $120 million for 4 fights. And he rejected both of them. So now you have it to where he is facing Dominic Brazil, then facing Luis Ortiz, and then he has a fight scheduled for February against Tyson Fury. And the talk was is that Deontay Wilder was betting on himself and that he's going to believe in himself, the whole one face, one name, one champion type of thing. And that he is supposedly the most famous boxer out there. But going by what is happening here is basically Showtime giving up the broadcasting rights for this particular rematch between Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. And that, they don't see the purpose of investing the money that they would probably invested to have this fight on Showtime pay-per-view. And going off the article that is on Boxing Scene, it said that there isn't really a prediction of what the buy rate would be for Wilder-Ortiz coming from Steven Espinoza, but there are some industry insiders that say that the Wilder-Ortiz rematch will produce fewer buys than Wilder Fury, and I completely agree with that. I mean, yes, you did have the first fight being a 10-round KO win for Deontay Wilder. I didn't think that that particular fight was as good as some people say it was. And the thing about it is that you have Wilder and Ortiz, and the build up to this particular fight, this rematch, is not going to be anything close to what Wilder Fury 1 was. And the expectation by a good number of people is that Wilder is going to basically blow out Luis Ortiz. So, with those factors put out there, the projection or the early projection for Wilder and Ortiz being on Fox pay-per-view is that it's not going to be that successful. But we'll see what happens with that as, Fox has been working with Premier Boxing Champions to promote a multitude of their fights. You do have what's coming up this weekend, Fox pay-per-view, Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter. And we're going to be seeing what comes out of that as well. But, other than that, with Deontay Wilder holding the WBC Heavyweight Championship and going into this fight with Luis Ortiz, and that Fox pay-per-view has picked it up because Showtime basically said that they don't think that it would be worth it to put an investment towards taking over the broadcasting for that particular fight. And we'll have to see what happens here come November 23rd and see how successful this particular fight is going to be. But that's, what you have here. Steven Espinoza, the president of sports and event programming of Showtime, said that, putting in a financial commitment towards the Deontay Wilder Luis Ortiz rematch would not be enough to try to go ahead and pick that up. And so it kind of seems like it might be a bad look for the team of Deontay Wilder, who, kind of tried to say that, oh, I'm a free agent, or oh, I'm loyal to Showtime, or, you know, kind of like not really being consistent as far as what his overall direction is going to be, holding that WBC heavyweight championship, and what his overall status is in reference to his star power in the sport of boxing. So let me know what you think about the decision of Stephen Espinoza and what may happen on November 23rd between Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. You can subscribe to the Boxing Source on YouTube and catch the Boxing Source radio show Sundays at 7:30 live on Blog Talk Radio, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor.fm. That's what I got for y'all for now. Until next time, folks. Peace.